Thank you for tuning in to I Might Be a Fake Cultivator, written by Bright Moonlight Frost on the Ground, narrated by Mad Dog Audios. Chapter 2: The Most Networked Backdoor Entrant. Just as An Lin began to despair, the system's interface suddenly appeared in his mind and said, "Detected that the host has entered the Taichu continent. Language system is being installed." Seeing this, a look of joy appeared on An Lin's face. Finally, the language barrier problem has been resolved, he thought to himself. After a moment, the system displayed another message. Language system failed to install. The host needs to bark like a dog twice at a volume no less than 70 decibels. An Lin was appalled. Who can tell me what the hell is going on? Why do I need to bark like a dog? What does that achieve? An Lin howled incessantly in his mind, yet the system interface gave him no response whatsoever. Woof, woof. An Lin barked quietly, and a look of humiliation showed on his face. After a moment, the system displayed another message. Detected that the host's voice is 20 decibels. Insufficient volume, unable to record. An Lin was once again horrified. The girl looked at An Lin strangely. She felt as if she had heard An Lin making some weird noises. The beautiful girl continued to speak in a language that he couldn't understand, and the way she looked at him also started changing gradually. Yes, she was now already looking at him as if he was a retard. An Lin couldn't endure this anymore, so he decided to go all out and bark loudly. Woof, woof! His voice was far too loud and attracted the attention of numerous passerbys, who looked at him with a bewildered expression on their face. The girl standing in front of An Lin was also startled. "Are you crazy?" the girl shouted. "Huh, I've been called crazy, just as I expected." An Lin laughed bitterly. "Hang on a second, I can understand what you're saying." An Lin came back to his senses, and a peculiar language left his lips almost instinctively. The girl covered her mouth and she chuckled lightly. "Ah, so you are able to use human speech. I almost thought you were transformed from a dog demon when you suddenly started barking just then." An Lin's face became beet red as he quickly tried to change the topic. Hello, my name is An Lin. This is my first time here. Can you please tell me where this is?" Hearing this, the girl was a bit surprised. "How did you get here if you don't even know where this is?" "Actually, it was an extremely powerful person who teleported me here through special means. I know absolutely nothing about this place." "Oh, is that so? This land is the territory of the Heavenly Court," the girl explained as she pointed towards the palaces behind the gate. "The domain within these gates is the campus of the United University of Cultivation. I thought you were also a new student here." "Wow, you're telling me that the vast territory behind these gates are all part of the university campus?" An Lin exclaimed in a surprised tone. He looked towards the unending sprawl of building complexes in the distance. They stretched over a vast area, and there was no end to them in sight. "Is this weird? Speaking of which, what did you come here for?" the girl asked curiously. "Actually, you guessed correctly just then. I am indeed a new student here." As he spoke, An Lin handed the piece of golden paper in his hands over to the girl. "A true god's letter of recommendation!" the girl exclaimed. Immediately, she began to look at An Lin in a new light. The girl put on a charming smile and introduced herself to An Lin. "Hello, I'm Shu Xiaolan, and I'm from the Stone Dragon State. I'm a new student here as well. Since you're unfamiliar with this place, I'll help you enroll." Shu Xiaolan didn't wait for An Lin's response before grabbing his hand and pulling him towards the university gates. An Lin felt extremely flattered. Why did the attitude of the beautiful girl in front of him suddenly become so good? The United University of Cultivation is sponsored by the Heavenly Court and is the top cultivation university in the Kingdom of the 9 States. The entire university spans 40,000 square kilometers. Shu Xiaolan introduced the university to An Lin as they walked along. An Lin's expression was full of yearning. The area occupied by this university was larger than the entire province of Taiwan. After entering the university, what surprised him the most was not the peculiar divine abodes, but rather it was the people he saw on the streets. Not only did they wear all kinds of clothing, their skin colors were also of various tones. An Lin even saw a male passerby with antennae on his head and a snail shell on his back. In comparison, Xu Xiaolan in her Taoist robes appeared to be the most normal person here. The manner in which some students traveled was also very interesting. Some relied on floating, whilst others was flashier and used their magic treasures to fly. All of these methods appeared acceptable. However, what was up with the person sitting atop the tornado? Okay, let's ignore the fact that you're sitting on top of a tornado. But why are you also spinning with the wind? Seeing this, An Lin couldn't help but laugh out loud. To his surprise, the person sitting atop the tornado appeared to be extremely sensitive towards laughter and stared daggers at An Lin upon hearing him laugh. An Lin had to endure the glare, which appeared once for every revolution of the tornado, and he dared not laugh until the person floated off into the distance. Xu Xiaolan pointed ahead to where everyone was flocking. The enrollment spot is just ahead. There was a small plaza there, and thousands of people were looking at it. An enormous slab of black stone rested among the crowd and occasionally emitted rays of white light. Dao Body, 7th stage. Wow, so impressive! The crowd bustled ahead. An Lin's face darkened. What was with the déjà vu he felt looking at this aptitude test? This is the cultivation-based aptitude test performed before enrollment. Although we've already received a notice of acceptance, students will be allocated to different classes according to the level of their cultivation base, Xu Xiaolan explained. There are around 10,000 people in this new cohort and will be allocated into 100 different classes. The cultivation base will be ranked from high to low, from class 1 to class 100 respectively. Xu Xiaolan continued. This is a simple and crude method of allocating classes, An Lin exclaimed. This can better facilitate teaching in accordance with the student's ability. Moreover, you clearly look like a genius and will easily make it into class 1. Xu Xiaolan smiled faintly. Xu Xiaolan's explanation left An Lin speechless. He didn't even know what a Dao body was. It was more likely he would make it into class 100. An Lin and Xu Xiaolan squeezed their way through the crowd and arrived at the enrollment spot. Xu Xiaolan took out her white-colored notice of acceptance and handed it to a middle-aged man of extraordinary temperament who had an immortal sword hanging from his waist. She then walked to the front of the enormous slab of black stone and pressed her hand on it. The stone emitted a dazzling white light and gigantic words appeared on it. Dao Body, 9th stage. What a genius! She's got a 9th stage Dao Body at such a young age! The crowd exclaimed in shock. People looked on in astonishment at the pretty girl who appeared elegant and modest in her Taoist robes, and there was a hint of envy in their eyes. Xu Xiaolan, Class 1. The middle-aged man with an immortal sword announced loudly. Under widespread attention, Xu Xiaolan made her way back to a spot besides An Lin. An Lin, it's your turn. Good luck. Xu Xiaolan smiled. An Lin was a bit tense as he walked up and handed a golden-colored piece of paper over to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took the golden-colored piece of paper from An Lin, and his look of indifference was replaced by one of surprise. He hurriedly used his magical powers to activate the piece of golden paper, which began emitting a faint golden light upon activation. The middle-aged man cast his eyes over to An Lin, and a faint smile unexpectedly appeared on his face. Go ahead. Go and measure your cultivation base, he said softly. It's a true God's letter of recommendation, a sharp-eyed new student exclaimed as he saw the piece of golden paper. Hearing this, the new students flared up in excitement. He actually has the ability to receive a true God's letter of recommendation. I wonder what clan this prodigy is from. Speaking of which, isn't this already the 3rd student in our cohort who has a true God's letter of recommendation? Indeed. In the past, there might not even be a single one in a cohort. I didn't expect there to be 3 in a single cohort all of a sudden. The crowd was engaged in a spirited discussion, and almost everyone looked at An Lin with a fervent expression in their eyes. When some of the young girls saw An Lin's handsome appearance, their face blushed and they felt a budding affection. Shit! Why are they all looking at me? Feeling the intense attention, An Lin had a feeling of unease. Why do they all have such high expectations of me? An Lin felt as if he were faced with a dilemma. Never mind it, maybe I might even have a 10th stage Dao body. With this in mind, An Lin finally managed to regain some composure. That's right, Maybe I just haven't realized that I'm actually super awesome. An Lin placed his hand on the enormous slab of black stone. A burst of white light shimmered out and his hand started to vibrate along with it. He felt tense, but expectant. Gigantic words suddenly appeared on the enormous slab of black stone. Dao Body, 0th stage. The crowd immediately fell into silence as everyone stared blankly at the words on the stone slab. Some people even started to doubt what they were seeing and began rubbing their eyes. An Lin was temporarily dumbstruck, even though he was already mentally prepared for this. However, when this reality was suddenly thrust in front of him, he still felt a sense of disappointment. Everything suddenly became frighteningly quiet. An Lin looked at the faces of the new students. They appeared more dumbstruck than him, so he was at a loss for words. An Lin, Class 1, the middle-aged man read out loud. An Lin stumbled as he walked off. He turned to face the middle-aged man, and a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. He even suspected that he had heard it incorrectly. He then cast his eyes towards his new students and realized that they were also looking towards him with an indescribably complex expression. Everything suddenly turned quiet again. The most networked backdoor entrant of this cohort has appeared. Right at this moment, someone in the crowd made a remark. Not a single person retorted him. In fact, many people even started to silently nod their heads in agreement. They were all aware that the name An Lin would soon spread through the entire United University of Cultivation. After all, An Lin had claimed the record for being the first ever student to enter the best class with the worst results. An Lin winced upon hearing this remark. He hung his head as he made his way back to Shu Xiaolan. Shu Xiaolan's eyes were full of sympathy, and she opened her mouth to console him. However, she had no idea where to even start. An Lin raised his head at a 45-degree angle. He looked towards the sky with a dejected expression on his face. He had just wanted to cultivate peacefully. Why did he have to become a focal point right after entering the university? Moreover, he became the type of focal point that people were least fond of. Alright, so that's it for Chapter 2 of I Might Be a Fake Cultivator. Thank you all for listening.